Okay, welcome to day 5 in our Advent meditation series. We are actually at the completion point of the first week of Advent. We've got 3 more weeks after this together. And today's topic, since this week has been looking at different angles of preparing ourselves and what it means to be deep within in our preparation, is titled The Role of Chaos. And you might playfully want to say, does chaos have a role? wouldn't it be nice to really come into union with God, come into wholeness without chaos having to be a part of it? And yet you'll find in every mystic tradition, and you found probably in the words in the newsletter of Jesus, that there is an element of being undone, right? Because Jesus' words there are incredibly strong, and we're going to take a look at those words, but I just want to point to them right now, right? Because he talks about really choosing him and the way over mother and father, over son and daughter. He talks about if you're holding on to your life, you're going to lose it. And if you actually lose your life, you're going to find it. He talks about setting people against each other, which is even in a way a bit more severe than leaving those we love. I have left loved ones in a very dramatic way when I joined the monastery. And it was severe. It was emotionally very, very severe. But being set against each other, it seems to me, can be even more painful or more challenging. And especially because we have these ideas of family, family represents those close to us. So whether it's by blood, whether it's for other reasons, those close to us, we have a natural idea that we're meant to go through life together, be there for each other. And yet Jesus's words seem to be saying the opposite. And yet we'll revisit those words, because are they truly saying the opposite? It takes us needing to stop for a moment and take a look at this undoing process. Let's say you lost all the people you love. I would imagine that you would have an experience that would be something like chaos if you lost all that was familiar to you. So let's take a look at that word chaos. Now, if you look at the etymology, you'll find in Greek, it has descriptors such as abyss, a gaping void, a vast chasm. In the Old French, you have the meaning being an immeasurable space. That means outside what we can quantify with space. Other definitions are utter confusion, unpredictable to the point that what's happening seems not to be orchestrated, but to be random, which can leave us feeling completely out of control and completely ungrounded. So when you think of the word chaos, what's something that comes to your mind and heart around this word? And you may want to journal about it for this Advent series, because I'm inviting you to allow the word chaos, if it has any negative connotations for you that leave you contracted or feels like suffering, I'm inviting you through this meditation to reframe how you look at chaos. In Genesis, the meaning scholastically that I accept as true for chaos, that's right in the beginning, as creation is coming into form, is chaos is this: the formless matter existing before creation. Now, there's something there that then you have to logically say, well, then there's something going on. Because even if you can define it as formless matter existing before creation, it is something. It just doesn't have form as creation. So that can reframe chaos in our lives in a different view, in a different light for us, so that we can find those moments that feel undoing to be more acceptable, and even more over time, to be welcome, to be actually welcome. For instance, if you use the word darkness, which is oftentimes linked to chaos, either with chaos or as being chaos, like, wow, I am really in the dark. This is so chaotic. If you've made any referentials like that, it can have a tone to it that I'm not assuming it is for you, but it could have a tone that has a certain, this is terrible. What if, though, your framing and understanding of chaos was that every time there was chaos, that you are in a moment of formless matter? That is you, the high self, the self, capital S. You are in a moment of formlessness that is just on the precipice of becoming a new creation. Well, that makes it kind of exciting. Like, well, what am I emerging as? What is going to emerge in this situation? What is this next step, this next iteration of me in this life? I want to, before we go back to Jesus's words, I want to pull up our beloved John of the Cross, because he certainly seems to me he's probably the one that speaks most masterfully around this idea of being in the dark being the chaos that we're speaking to here. And I want to pull a few words from his poem, I Came into the Unknown, Entreme donde no supe. He says, I came into the unknown and stayed there unknowing, rising beyond all science. I did not know the door, but when I found the way, unknowing where I was, I learned enormous things, but what I felt I cannot say. For I remained unknowing, rising beyond all science. It's a very long poem. I'm going to pull just a little more from it. And the one who does arrive collapses as in sleep. For all he knew before now seems a lowly thing. And so his knowledge grows so deep that he remains unknowing, rising beyond all science. The higher he ascends, the darker is the wood. It is the shadowy cloud that clarified the night. And so the one who understood remains always unknowing, rising beyond all science. So the higher, the more we become who we're meant to be, the darker things are. He says that when we do arrive, we actually collapse as in sleep, because everything we knew now seems completely different. And our knowledge, our knowing will grow so deep that we become anchored in the unknowing. And in that, we rise beyond all science. Now, bringing that into Jesus's words, what we have here then with Jesus is, I took a line that happens 2 paragraphs above the excerpt that's the main body of this reflection. And that line is, be as wise as serpents and as innocent as doves. What happens as we enter into what we call the chaos, we become as wise as serpents and as innocent as doves. Wow. And in that, we become rooted, like John of the Cross is saying, we become rooted in the unknowing in such a way that we know all we need to know. But in order to do that, all the ways that we have attached on to things, all the ways we have found ourselves leaning into the love that shows up in its many forms, in its habits and its relationships, our beliefs about what it means to be in relationship with others in this world, our relationship to ourselves as our identity. What happens is all of that has to be undone. And what we're talking to is that third reference, our relationship to ourselves. It needs to be undone. Our identity that serves us to a certain point needs to be undone in a way that we don't rely upon it as a self-referential, where it will always limit our freedom. And what happens is we still maintain a sense of self, but the line between the self, capital S, becomes very, very dotted. And our anchor point becomes free. There is a great Taoist story, and it is of a small family, a man, a woman, and a young baby. And they live in an area that every year gets the floods that move through all of the marshes. And sometimes people have to evacuate during that time if it gets to be too bad. And this year was one of those times in the story. So they packed all the belongings they could on their backs, and they made their way away from the flooded area that was still flooding to move to higher ground of safety. Well, there came a point as they were moving away that their bags became too heavy. The waters were rising. They were intermittent with the land that they got to, and they knew they had to let their possessions go. And they looked at each other, and they looked at their possessions, and they said, "There will be more." And they let their possessions go. And then the waters get higher and higher, and they realize that there is no way for them to make it and survive with their baby. That either they're all three going to die, or they have to let their baby go. And they look to each other and they say, "There will be another." And they let the baby go. And then they're traveling further on, and the man is stronger and taller than the woman. And at a certain point, he's carrying her, and the waters are getting higher. And there is the realization that either both of them are going to die, or he will need to let his wife go. And he said, "There will be another." And in the end, he makes it to safety. Now, that is not a comfortable story, right? It seems outwardly that it would be the right thing and more heroic for just all three of them to die, to be unwilling to live life without each other. But it peels back the masks to reveal the raw and sometimes destructive nature of our evolution. And how much in those moments are we willing to let go? It probably would never come to that, right? Where we have to let our baby die and let our spouse or partner die. It's highly doubtful. But the story illustrates the all-encompassing severity and clarity that Jesus is pointing to. He says it clearly, "Do not think I have come to bring peace to the earth." Like, well, wait a second. You're purporting to be the incarnation of God, and you're not here to bring peace to a creation you created to be abundant and life-filled. "I have not come to bring peace, but a sword." In that severe story of the flooding, you've got the sword. And what is it? It's the discernment. It is being as wise as a serpent and as innocent as a dove. And that man was capable of doing that. And in the story, it's not like he didn't have a level of grief that almost killed him. It was that he had the clarity and the simplicity, the wisdom and the innocence to make the call. So it's a call to us to understand and accept the role that chaos has in our lives. It's there for a reason. Why? Because there are parts of you that are the formless matter coming into being. There is a part of you that is created, and you can cognitively reference and recognize and acknowledge. And then there is another part of you that is formless matter that is still in the process of becoming. The role of chaos is not that you will be the master of that before it comes into existence, so you remain in control. The role of chaos is what John points to, that you will be released of all of it and be founded firmly in the unknowing nature of being. The higher that you ascend, the darker the wood. Teresa of Avila points to this so well in her writings. She wrote all of these great explanations of contemplative prayer and all of these deep, insightful, both tutorials and reflections upon what does it mean to be on a spiritual journey. And she said, don't think that as you grow in wholeness, as you grow in union with God, as she puts it, don't think it gets easier. Don't think the sacrifices become less. It is actually more all-consuming. More all-consuming. And in her interior castle, in the second version, she says it's a good thing that His Majesty, I use the word beloved, didn't reveal to me all it was going to take to get to the in her castle. It's a good thing that I wasn't told that ahead of time, because I would have been shaken with terror at what I was going to need to let go. It is a good thing that it went step by step by step. Now, I'm not saying this to evoke terror in you right now. But what I am inviting you to make friends with is the chaos. Let it be an opportunity to fire up the longing. Like John in his spiritual canticle, at the point when he's come to a certain union with God, and then there's the absence because he's coming back into the formless matter that he will evolve more deeply in this union. And when he goes searching for the beloved, in one of the stanzas, he says to the waters, he says, and I'm using my own words, stop teasing me. You have the fragrance, you have the eyes and the reflection of the one I'm looking for. I don't want to look upon you, the water, who is just the created of the beloved. Give me what I seek. Stop teasing me here. No longer pain my soul, but give me the beloved. We have an opportunity in making friends with chaos to get fired up in the longing that's at our center. So with that, our meditation today is going to be the use of imagination. And we are going to come into our own individual places of chaos and darkness to discover and experience something of an eternal light. Great. So I invite you to close your eyes as I close mine. And with the fire of your own being, come into contact with the longing that is at your center for union with God, with Source, with the beloved. staying close to that fire of longing. Let yourself imagine that you are in spirit somewhere. Go in spirit somewhere in this earth. It could even be right where you're at, where it is dark and not pleasant feeling. Maybe it's swampy or marshy. Maybe it's a cave. Maybe it's in the middle of a vast Himalayan snow-capped mountain where you can't see anyone and the sun is setting. Maybe it's in a vast desert where you cannot see a direction anywhere towards where you wish to go. In spirit, travel to this place. And once there, take in your environment with all the senses. Notice with the eyes, listen with the ears. Be touched by the elements wherever you stand or sit, or the wind around you. Notice the climate. Just simply notice everything. And if you can, see if you can bring the insight that you're gleaning from yourself, from this reflection, into your environment. Allow yourself to sit there in the elements of immeasurable space and formless matter and the unknowing, while holding an openness that you are being brought to a new level of knowing and experiencing of the divine. And if you will, imagine and draw into your awareness open up your awareness to see a being of great light coming towards you holding a candle. Invite in this being. Let it be one that you find great consolation and comfort with. And this being hands you the candle and then disappears. Feel the warmth of the candle and notice the radiant light that comes from its flame. And broaden your imagination and your awareness by seeing this candle grow brighter so that where you are becomes slowly lit by this one small candle. And notice within yourself what happens as this candle that you hold, which is confident expectation in the unknowing. What effect does it have within you as your surroundings are illumined by its rays? Slowly, we will begin to end this meditation. But before you move in spirit from where you are right now with this candle, take in once again your environment. See what has changed and shifted. And then when you are ready, come back in spirit to where you sit in your room. And if you can, allow that candle in your mind's eye to be with you. And now feel yourself fully back into your physical body and wiggle your fingers and your toes. With the eyes closed, just nod very gently to the divine work being done within you right now. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Great to be with you. Have a wonderful weekend. I will see you Monday at 3 p.m. Mountain Time.